All right. I hit the go live, and it is live.
Okay.
So
Here
we go.
Yeah.
You know, for the little bit that I'm actually doing tonight, I was probably, for whatever reason, the least prepared.
Really?
I spent more time running around trying to gather up a bunch of shit. I thought I was done, but apparently I wasn't. So...
Done with...
Well, I mean, done with gathering all my media and my notes and everything, because I'll do a slideshow tonight, but I had nothing ready. And for some reason in the back of my head, I thought I was done, but whatever. I don't really care, because I'm going to make it a great show, because no matter what, that's what I'm bringing.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing heat.
Bringing that big D energy.
Yep.
Speaking of which, I'm on like a month now of taking 2 vitamin D pills every morning, and it seems to be helping. I'm feeling all right, with the exception of this total crap weather, but anybody who knows me knows that I hate when the weather goes up and down like this. On Monday, dude, I know it happens in Wisconsin all the time. I should be used to it by now.
No, I was just thinking how you should start a 60-plus podcast. Just be the host of a 60-plus podcast. I feel like you can get a lot of seniors that could tune in and listen about your vitamin D uptake and how the weather makes your bones a little creaky. And
we can compare the blankets that we use to stay warm.
Yeah, old people are always cold. Always.
Yeah. Yep. I guess I'm old at heart then. Not that that's any new news, but
I'm in a t-shirt and like shorts, pajama shorts, and I feel great down here. It's nice and cool. And
bro, on Monday, let me see if I'm remembering this correctly. Monday at lunchtime, there was over a half a foot of snow on the ground.
Yes.
I even took a picture of it with my phone.
I was out there shoveling it.
24 hours later, lunchtime the next day, there was not a trace of snow on the ground whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then about 6 hours later, it was back to freezing and snowing again.
Mm-hmm.
It went from half a foot of snow to 55 degrees and no snow to freezing and snowing again.
I don't mind. I like it. I like it. And I'm even out in it. I like seeing the changing weather from my window. It's nice. It's nice to just have it constantly changing out there.
I've talked about the barometric pressure stuff before, and you're like, is there any actual science behind that? I Googled it a little bit, and basically it said, yeah, to some degree there is a science behind
Well, I said it probably affects you like a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that 99% of it is in your head.
I just think it's relative to the person. I'm not going to rule out that it might be more psychosomatic, but it's... And just like, it might be a matter of energy too, like the negative energy from the negative, what's it called? The expectancy violation of, I thought the weather was going to be this and it would have been nice.
Expectancy violations happen in your head.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I mean. It is all psychosomatic ultimately.
But
there's absolutely proof that your health is affected by not getting enough sunshine.
But
absolutely. People get depression if they don't get enough sunlight. That's what the vitamin D is for.
And not having enough positivity and shit to look forward to, too.
But that happens with any vitamin deficiency. That's a vitamin deficiency. That's not like a weather thing. Yeah. It's not like because the sun isn't out today, that feeling that you have of just low energy is all in your head. It's all in your head.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if I'm sitting at home versus if I'm in Denver or if I'm in a plane, your ears pop, right? Because you're at a higher elevation, because there are physical effects on a human being because of barometric pressure and other forms of pressure.
Sure.
So it's all...
But you're talking about like actual physical symptoms. I'm talking about just your mental state as a response to weather is all in your head. That's all manufactured by you. That is not the weather. So if you train yourself to think a certain way about a certain level of light outside, if you train yourself to do that over time, it just becomes that thing for you.
Habit. becomes habit.
Yeah. But like 99% of everything in your head is just habit. It's all habit.
I'll tell you this. I'm still in the process of going through boxes of stuff, and it's going pretty well. I'm a little bit sad about certain things that I'm like, yeah, I think I still have that old collectible. I'm pretty sure it's in one of my boxes. Now that I've just about gone through all of them, and there's a handful of things that I have not come across, I'm like, oh, it sucks now to realize logically I can deduce that thing is gone forever, because if it's not in one of these boxes, it's nowhere.
Wait.
So that kind of sucks.
Is this like you're moving boxes, or you're just going through boxes and just checking stuff out?
I'm going through all of everything I have packed away in boxes to organize it. Because there's certain stuff where I'm like, I really wish I knew where this was, but it's buried in a box somewhere. Like right now, I have nothing better to do with my time, and I've been putting this off for decades. I'm like, now is when I'm finally going to do it. Organize stuff, label the boxes, finally know where everything is. And like I said, it's going really well. But the reason I mention this really is when I keep busy and my body is in a constant state of working and moving and stuff, the weather can be cold and clammy, and the barometric pressure can be kind of high, and it won't affect me nearly as much as the previous day when I sat around at my computer, not moving around, not like ferociously entranced in a meaningful project where I was actually working my blood. I'll feel the climate can be the same both days. All the weather conditions can be the same both days, but I feel better on the one where I stayed physically moving around.
Yeah, it's in your head. That's what I was saying.
I still think these things play off each other. You got to have some empathy, man. Don't be a grump.
You're the grump. You're the one saying that the weather's bringing you down. I love the weather. I was out there shoveling it. And the whole time I was out there, I'm like, yeah, I hate shoveling snow, but at the same time, what an awesome opportunity to be out in it and listen to a podcast and get some exercise. That's literally how I was thinking. Like, I didn't wake up and like look outside and been like, what a crappy day today to look forward to.
I guess in closing, I'll say when we brought this up several weeks ago, you said something to the effect of, well, I mean, if you're in your house, it shouldn't make that much of a difference, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't.
And I guess the answer is it still makes a little bit of a difference. It makes some.
Yeah.
Barometric pressure changes, even if you're inside versus being outside. It makes a little bit of difference. And
okay, what exactly do you think barometric pressure does? Like, what do you think it does?
It might kind of...
But it doesn't impose. What I'm saying is it doesn't impose depression.
No,
or like a lowered state of energy.
The thing that I'm grappling with isn't being bummed out or depressed so much as just lacking motivation and just.
Well, that's what I mean. It doesn't do that. That's not what barometric pressure does at all. It has very specific effects on your body that are measurable. The mindset that you have in a certain situation is all you. It's not the barometric pressure. That's what I'm saying. That's my argument.
But if you tie all... If
we have meteorologists in the chat, please come in here and tell Andy that it's good that he's taking the vitamin D, because that absolutely does have an effect. But it's all like it is all mindset. It really is. That's
one way of looking at it.
No, it's the only way of looking at it.
Mind over matter. I understand how
that's not what I'm saying at all. Okay, tell me what barometric pressure does that affects your brain in a negative way.
Well, I think it's difficult to explain.
Well, can you explain what barometric pressure is exactly?
It's when there's pressure in the barometer.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, what happens when your ears pop when you're on a flight?
That's pressure inside your own head, evening itself out. It's the same thing it's the same thing as scuba diving. When you scuba dive, you are equalizing the pressure in your head to that of your environment, of the water around you. And that's why you can't come up too fast when you're scuba diving, because you get the bends, and what that is depressurization that's happening in your sinuses.
Well, I feel like
it is a measurable physical effect.
Yeah. Well, I feel like some people have more sensitive heads, though.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I'll have to do a little bit more.
Like your ears are going to pop a little more? Probably, yeah.
I'll have to do a little bit more fake research and get back to you on this next month.
I feel like you're preconditioned to just have kind of like a bad outlook on things. Don't you get that impression? I noticed this last week, that anytime I called you out for something, it was you had an excuse. It wasn't even really an answer. It was an excuse for why you couldn't do the thing.
Can you give me one for example?
Like when you were talking about writing the script that nobody really responded to. And I was like, well, have you ever written a script before? I mean, like, why? Basically, my question was, why did you go into that situation thinking and everybody was going to think it was great? Because you had never written a script before. Well, because I don't have access to materials to write it. So that was like excuse number one. Like, it wasn't a good reason. It was just an excuse for why the script wasn't good. And then I was like, well, go to the library. Or no, you said,
yeah,
I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't have access to that kind of stuff because we didn't have the internet. But I was like, yeah, but you still had a library. Like, you had access to a library. But I don't like to read. Like, that was the next one. And they just like came out like so fast, almost like it was preconditioned to like have that kind of view on this thing, like on this, what you perceived as a failure. To me, it wasn't a failure. It was like, well, yeah, you've never studied script writing at all. Of course, people are going to think it's dog shit. Like, it made perfect sense to me, but you seemed to think it was some kind of failure. And I was like, well, no, it wasn't a failure. You never did this before. That was like your first time.
This time of year, it's hard for me to more fluidly think and come up with witty, clever responses.
But you're making excuses again.
Because the weather sucks. You just wait. When the weather, okay, then when the weather gets nicer, I am going to have better comebacks.
Okay.
Let's put that on the record. You guys can all hold me to that too.
Well, like it's like the comebacks are fine. Like, actually coming back with the point that you don't like to read because we had a big argument about reading. Like, that was a funny comeback. Like, that was funny. But my point was, like, you just have like these ready excuses, like, ready to go. And I'm like, what? Well, like barometric pressure?
Well, sometimes what seems to be an excuse is just an explanation that's kind of hard to explain. So I'm like, well, shit, should I really get into it now? It's an explanation with a lot of layers and we only have so much time. But no, I'm not gonna deny the fact that I do come up with excuses sometimes. But
well, no, excuses are fine. But I'm just like, but like, why default to like a negative excuse for why you want to do something? So I come up with excuses all the time. Like, when I have something that I need to do, but it's just like tedious bitch work and I don't want to do it. The way I trick myself is by coming up with excuses too, but it's always an excuse like, you know what? It's shitty and snowy out there. I better go and shovel. Like, it's an excuse like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like, well, I just can't do it because the barometric pressure is too high. Like, it's always an excuse to where I'm like trying to like justify it by doing something else.
I should also mention, a lot of times when I say this stuff, I wish I could find the energy to do this and do that, blah, blah, blah. A lot of it is just kind of like...
Yeah, but you're getting it back with the vitamin D, right?
It seems like it, yeah. I think a lot of...
What about cocaine? If I get you some cocaine, you think that'll help?
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. A lot of times when I say stuff like that, it's coming from a place of being like a relentless self-improver. It's like, yeah, I'm already doing fine, but I wish I could do more because I have the ambition, like in my core, I have the ambition to do more. And then as I'm like in my apartment by myself and it's dead quiet and I'm like, why is it that some days the boost of Fazoo to just like get up and do the thing that I'm ambitious for is just there? And some days it's not there.
No, but isn't it not there like 80% of the time? Or like even 90? For me, it's like 90% of the time. 90% of the time, it's not there.
Yeah, maybe somewhere.
I literally have to force myself to like do whatever it is I'm supposed to be doing.
Sometimes you just hit a pocket though, right? Sometimes you're just like, dude, the energy's right, the mood is right. I don't know if it's because I just recently did something that got me out of my element and just kind of revitalized a certain part of my energy.
Yeah, kratom helps with that.
What, kratom?
Yeah.
Isn't that something dudes put in their energy, their workout shakes?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of creatine. Never mind. Oops.
It's like a painkiller, like a mild painkiller, and it has
Kratom.
it's illegal in Wisconsin, by the way.
Ah, piss.
Yeah, well, Wisconsin's one of like 7 states that it's actually illegal in. It's such dog shit. Anyway,
Just like Freon.
but if you
hell,
munch,
man?
if I munch a bunch of kratom,
When you're in a different state, of course.
yeah, you go into a different mindset, and suddenly I want to sit there and do it's like getting high. It's like smoking weed. So back in the early 2000s, when you had to build websites by coding them, like there weren't the web building templates that are easy to use today. When I was doing that shit, I was high all the time. Because when you're high, it makes whatever tedious, stupid thing that you're doing seem way more exciting and interesting than it actually is. And so that helps.
Sounds like it's shades of opiate and shades of Ritalin.
Yeah, for me. For me, it's definitely opiates and not really speed, though, but I guess I do drink a lot of coffee. So there is like caffeine. But with any of that shit, if you overdo it, it doesn't work anymore. And then,
Oh, yeah, of course.
So my point is, the best thing to do is just learn how to force yourself to do shit against your will, against the relentless will to be lazy, which is my problem. I mean, I don't know if it's your problem, but it's definitely my problem. I always want to be lazy. Always.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's because I think you value like joy and comfort and gratification over meaningful pursuits, at least by a little bit, right? Like, aren't your meaningful pursuits mostly to get more comfort and joy and gratification? Or do you sometimes find yourself pursuing stuff just to no end?
Meaningful pursuits?
Yeah.
I don't know that I even have any meaningful pursuits.
Well, what's your long game in general? Like what would you do if you had nothing but money and free time? Would
Nothing
you just
but money and free time? I'd probably kill myself. Because I basically I'm in a situation right now where I really don't have to work. I'm pretty comfortable just kind of doing gig work and stuff like that. But I'm fucking bored.
Yeah.
A lot. And so a lot of the things that I do are just born out of boredom. Like right now I'm building a guy a website.
Okay.
Because I have free time and I'm bored. And I can do that, even though I find it tedious and insufferable. It's something to do. So
anyways, to close out the nonsense that I was saying before, when I ask myself, hey, how come some days I'm in a pocket of like good energy, good vibes, motivation, everything seems to be firing on all cylinders, and I'm like, I'm in that mode where I know I can get some good writing done or good something creative done. And then the other, like you said, maybe 80% of the time, it just doesn't seem to work. I would ask myself why, and there seems to be correlations to bad weather, but that could just be me looking for a, what do you call it, rationale. I don't know. I've also been a big baby when it comes to cold my whole life.
Yeah, but
just a big baby.
I think it just comes down to discipline. You have to crack the whip on yourself and be like, you know what? If I want to accomplish this thing, I'm going to have to actually just sit down and devote X number of minutes or hours to a certain pursuit.
If you're just tuning in, this hippie over here is telling a military veteran about discipline. Anyways, you were saying?
Yeah, I am explaining this to you because you were in the Navy, military veteran.
Oh, come
Those are
on.
some big words for being in the Navy.
Like I haven't heard that before. Oh, the Navy and the Air Force aren't real military. Dude.
So
have you ever not seen land for 80 days?
No, that would suck.
It's fucked up, man.
So I did a podcast a couple of years ago that was all like writing based. I had to basically force myself to sit down and write every single day if I wanted to put out. And I think I only put out like one episode every 2 weeks or one episode a month or whatever. And I did that until I got busy again. And then it just fell off. But yeah, I just had a routine where I would sit down every single day at 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning. And I had to sit there at my computer for an hour. And if I didn't write anything that day, tough shit. I had to be there ready to go. Most of the time, what happens is I'll sit there for 10 minutes staring at a blank page, and then I'll just start writing some bullshit because I want to do something because I'm sitting at my computer. And then by the time the hour's up, I've written a page and a half and didn't even realize it. I think that is far more valuable than trying to rely on any kind of inspiration at all to like do anything.
I think when it comes
and I got a lot done. The podcast ran for about 2 years and it got pretty popular. It actually did really good. So, and that's just 5 hours a week, whether I wanted to do it or not, Monday through Friday. Of
being routinized with a habit. I feel like I do really, discipline-wise, I do really well with being like, I want to use the word ascetic. Frugal, definitely. I'm really good at being frugal when I need to be. I know you've got your opinions on that. I shouldn't be on the defensive financially. I should be more on the offensive because then I can make more money. But we'll have to talk about that.
There's a difference between frugality and stinginess, though. I think that's where we disagree.
Do you think I'm stingy?
No.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I was just shitting on you. Just to shit on you.
It's hard to tell sometimes. I think maybe I overdo it with being frugal to the point where when it comes to other ways.
You were really worried I thought you were stingy, huh?
I was curious. When it comes to being disciplined in other ways, maybe my body, my physiology is like, no, dude, you've already used up all of your disciplined energy on being frugal. You don't have any disciplined energy left to work on artistic stuff and writing. And
so prioritize the artistic stuff, not the frugality. I mean, you can.
Easier said than done, especially if I'm jobless and it's been a habit for so many decades, but you're not wrong. I mean, yeah, making pivots and trying
90 days, man. It's 90 days to create a
90 days of doing something every some say 30, don't they? If you do the same thing every single day.
If you're trying to give up smoking, it's probably like 30.
Yeah, okay.
If you're trying to give up an addiction, it's probably 30. If you're trying to start something brand new, I'm sure it's 90 because it's not easy.
Oh, yeah. Anyways,
it's like trying to do you floss?
Sometimes, not as often as I should.
I don't floss at all. And they say at the dentist all the time, floss.
Right.
Get in the habit of doing it. And I've tried. I haven't been disciplined about it though. I say I tried, just meaning I did it like 4 days in a row and then gave up on it.
Right.
Because it's fucking hard to start a new habit.
If I eat fibrous meat, then usually like a half hour after I'm done eating, I'm like, I can still feel it between my teeth. I'll get up and I'll go floss. But I don't floss after every time I eat. So yeah, it is what it is. It sucks.
But if I was super rich and I didn't have to worry about money and I just had beautiful whores flossing my teeth after every meal, I would absolutely floss after every meal.
Flossing
with your titties in your face and stuff the whole time.
Flossing your titanium veneers, I'm assuming.
That would be amazing.
I would get the most indestructible mouth imaginable if money was no option. I would have big old I know pro wrestler Roman Reigns got them. They are the biggest, whitest, almost most ridiculous looking fake teeth you've ever seen.
I would build a second mouth right into like my cheek so I can like suck two boobies at the same time.
There you go. Anyways, should we consider talking about some 90s stuff?
You wanted to know what my highest aim in life was. That might be it right there. I think I just found it.
Being in like Maui on the beach, having big booby chicks feeding you food, fibrous meats, and they're like, oh, honey, you got some in between your teeth there. Let me get that for you. Thank you, Anna Nicole. Oh, no, I can't say Anna Nicole Smith. I can't talk. I can't mock the dead.
Is she dead?
Yeah.
If I had the money, I'd dig her up, maybe. Maybe I'd do it anyway. I don't know.
Freaking A.
Her fake tits got to still be left, right? Maybe not so much the rest of her.
Good point. The best part of her,
yeah,
still there. Yeah.
I was shitting on Amy Fisher's fake tits last week, though. I hate fake tits. I really do.
I actually do too.
Okay. Do you want me to start this shit or what? You got a rhyme?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
Welcome to the Mindful 90s podcast, the only podcast that covers every 90s topic, from Plucky and Hampton being better than Buster to Joey Buttafuoco being a backdoor thruster.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that's a good rhyme because that reminded me about his sodomy charge. I completely forgot about that. That's hilarious.
I was considering saying sodomy luster, and I'm like, nah, backdoor thruster.
Yeah, backdoor thruster is way better. Yeah, definitely.
Well, one is the intention, but one is the action.
Is that the kind of poetry you develop in your house during bad weather?
No.
When you're down and you're like,
No, good weather. When I'm in that pocket I was talking about, I'm like, yeah, time to write about some
no,
TNA.
all the good poets are depressed all the time, aren't they? Aren't they always? They always have some kind of mental illness, and they're always.
When I'm in a good pocket, it's just when I'm motivated to do something with the depression.
Yeah, maybe the depression is just always there.
Yeah, and when I say depression, I just mean being a sad boy. I wouldn't say depressed. I would just say angsty and always disappointed in myself. That's a different thing, right?
Well, you should definitely, every week, I should come up with a reason for you to be disappointed with yourself.
Sure, why not? Why not? Keep me on my toes. Make sure that I'm covering all my bases.
Yeah. Like come in here with some actually good excuses where I'm like, yeah, you were probably just lazy because of the weather. You're like, actually, what I did on this day was blah, 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 and I got all this stuff accomplished. That would be amazing.
Well, I am feeling motivation now. I'm motivated to find some articles about how barometric pressure can, and just climate changes and weird climate ups and downs can have an effect on mood, mental health, just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm not denying that. I'm denying that.
It's a good excuse.
Yeah,
to not do anything.
It's mostly an excuse.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly an excuse.
Anywho.
I think the degree to which it has any effect at all should not be to the effect that it would just wipe you out for a day and not let you get anything done. That's what I'm saying.
It ends up turning into like, what do I have the energy to do? Like I have a to-do list
Yeah,
of
you
like,
shouldn't be having those thoughts. It shouldn't be that detrimental to your mental health. The weather, I'm saying. And the barometric pressure certainly is not doing that.
Also, I've been living by myself for over 6 years. No, coming up on 6 years. It'll be 6 years in a couple months.
Yeah, buddy, that sounds fucking amazing. I wish
it sounds amazing.
No. It is.
The grass is always fucking greener, dude. You'll find out one day if and when you live by yourself for 6 years.
I used to live on my own. I used to live by myself.
When you were younger and we fucking had our whole lives ahead of us. I'm telling you, man. The grass is always greener. At the end of the day, I do get stuff done. I just, if I was in that good pocket to get good writing done more often, I would still bitch and say that I still wish I was in the mood more often.
If you had somebody nagging you all the time, you would get even less done. That's just a fact.
Somebody telling you
would just have another reason. Right?
So, somebody telling you that your artistic expression is something they don't get or don't think is all that great.
Like constantly? Yeah. To have somebody there to constantly tell you that?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I suppose, yeah.
Now imagine writing a script every week and then showing it to your old lady and she's like, yeah, this is dog shit. Like every single week. That's what it would be like.
That script that I wrote in high school, my old lady at the time told me it was dog shit. I'm like, oh, dang. It would have been cool if your criticism was at least kind of constructive.
Would it have been? I think you still would have been let down anyway.
Speaking of being let down, the Wiener Madness tournament is over, which means somebody's going to be let down because you can only have one winner and not everybody's going to be happy about the winner.
Are we just going to announce that at the end of the podcast?
I wanted to announce it now.
Okay, go ahead.
The winner of Wiener Madness, which was a grand total of 16 bands technically, and has been going on for the entire Wiener March Madness month of March, the winner is U2.
As the most wienery band of the 90s.
Of the 90s, the premium wieners.
Okay, congratulations, U2.
Congratulations.
You're the biggest wieners.
Yay, clap, 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 golf clap.
Good job.
The poll started yesterday at 7 p.m. I checked it as recently as 2. Oh, you did have one.
Go U2. All right.
I checked it 2 minutes to 7, right before it was about to expire, right before we went live. U2 was at 56. And it was U2 was fluctuating within the 50s, and I'm like, oh, it's going to get close. It's going to get close to that 50-50 mark, and we're going to have some sort of weird tiebreaker. But then it fluctuated again, and U2 went from 58% to 53% back to 56. So
But
Creed,
they were always over 50, huh?
yeah, always over 50. Creed was always in the 40s for this entire last round, the finals, as it were. Creed's pretty wienery. But wouldn't it have been
but at least one person said that it's not Creed, it's not the musicians, it's the singer. That's the most wienery.
I mean, the same.
But that's how I feel about you too.
Right. The same can be said about Aerosmith too. Like,
I think Aerosmith's music is pretty wienery too. In the 90s, it definitely was.
Joe Perry's a pretty kick-ass guitarist, and the other
He's
three
a good
guys
guitarist,
are just kind
but
of there.
he's a wienery guitarist. He's just as wienery on guitar as Steven Tyler is singing.
You think so?
I know. Come on. You've seen like live footage of them, right? Like you've watched live.
He does have a bit of a demeanor of I know all the chicks want me, like that kind of thing. But
yeah, it's the same thing on guitar that what's his name is doing while he's singing.
Bono, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know about the rest of the members of Aerosmith. I'm assuming they're all just as wienery.
When we first started the tournament, literally my gut reaction was it's going to come down to Matchbox 20 versus Hootie and the Blowfish. And then I started talking to people and asking them, and a lot of people were giving me all these bands that I either said I didn't even think of them, or I said, do you really think so? And then they like convinced me, and I'm like, oh shit, I wasn't looking at it that way. So this entire thing was very interactive with our listeners, with friends of the show. I just want to say thanks again to everybody who voted and participated. And
yeah, but now I feel like we got to do it again because people gave such good. What about these guys? What about these guys? Now I want to do something with those, like Matchbox 20 and Hootie and the Blow. Like those guys, they deserve to be in a wiener competition.
Well, what I'm kind of thinking is maybe next year for March have
who beat Hanson real quick?
Well, it was U2 that beat Hanson on that side, and then Creed beat Aerosmith on the other side.
Okay, because Pat's asking, and I couldn't believe that either. How does U2 beat Hanson? That doesn't make any sense to me.
All of our female listeners voted against Hanson with their profiles and their alt profiles. The ones that they use to creep on old boyfriends.
That's disgusting. That is absolutely disgusting. And you want one of these in your house? You would rather have one of these than just live by yourself.
Ruining the legitimacy of polls with their vindictive nature.
Oh,
arg.
Fucking Hanson.
But you know what?
Alicia did not vote for Hanson, I guarantee. Or did not vote for U2 over Hanson, I guarantee that.
Polls. But I guess my final thought on two final thoughts. Number one, next March, why don't we do a bracket where it's all Wiener bands on one side and all Wiener single musicians on the other side? We'll open it up a little more.
And it doesn't just have to be singers, because Lars Ulrich deserves to be on that.
Right. Oh, yeah. It can be just anything. A DJ, a guitarist, a singer, a drummer. Yeah, absolutely. And then it'll be... the finals will come down to a band versus a single musician, and then the winner will just be, royal premium wiener of the 90s music in general.
Yeah.
This one was basically rock bands. That was kind of the idea of behind the conceit.
Yeah, because that was the other aspect. That's what Rosalind said, too. She's like, well, what about Crisscross? And what about all these other people?
What about rap groups? What about boy bands? Yeah. And what about...
Oh, boy bands was the other one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like the whole... female singers like Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, Mandy Moore, Jessica Simpson type of area.
Yeah, but were they really wienery? It's hard to judge wienery with a chick singer, though. It really is. Yeah. I can't tell.
Dudes generally know when another dude is being wienery. It's in our nature to know.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, dude, you're a ween. But anyways, my actual final thought on the tournament is even if U2 came out at number 1, Bono is still a number 2. Ba-dum-tsh.
Oh, hold on.
Is it that one? Yeah, nice.
I know. I keep saying I'm gonna.
I kind of wish you two would have got second place, just so that way we could say Bono is still the greatest number 2. But
yeah, but it had to be second place behind Hanson, though. Like, I was rooting for Hanson. I thought for sure they were going to absolutely. I thought for sure it was going to come down to Aerosmith and Hanson.
I
I
spent most of the tournament thinking Hanson would win it. I did.
Well,
so thanks, chicks.
Yeah,
I'm just
good
kidding.
job.
I'm just
Way
kidding.
to ruin the Wiener band tournament. This is like one of those online polls where, like, who was it? Mountain Dew that was trying to like name a new flavor or something like that, and then everybody on 4chan voted in the poll to name it like Hitler did nothing wrong. Like they wanted that to be the new Mountain Dew flavor, and so Mountain Dew had to like pull it down and be like, all right.
Yeah.
They literally tweeted out the internet won this one. But that's how I feel about the chicks not voting for U2 over Hanson.
Yeah.
Like the same thing. You may as well have voted for Hitler did nothing wrong if you're not going to vote for Hanson. Man, that's so disappointing. Whatever.
Before we move on from talking about the Wiener Band tournament, we got a call in from Diley that I'm not totally sure, but it might be related to the Wiener Band tournament.
Okay.
Let's see what he's got.
You know, a couple days ago, I was thinking about the Beavis and Butthead Experience CD.
Oh.
Remember that one? The CD starts with Beavis and Butthead performing on stage for a crowd, which is a reference to an older episode where Butthead was asleep on the job at Burger World. And he was dreaming about him and Beavis being in a band, performing on stage.
Great episode.
The chicks wanted Butthead, of course. They were like, Butthead,
I want you, Butthead.
And there was always that guy in the crowd yelling, play some Skynyrd, man. Yeah.
That guy's
Beavis
everywhere.
and Butthead had a couple of good songs like da 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 da.
Who could forget?
Da 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 da. And da da
Da da da da. Da 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 da.
That was the best
And
one.
if you remember, on the CD, Beavis had some pretty crazy lead lines, while Butthead, held down the rhythm. Da-na-nas.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't help but think back to that and smile and say to myself, you know what? I think Beavis and Butthead was actually the most wienery band of the 90s.
What did he just say? I'm so mad I can't contain myself. Diley, this time I mean it. You're fired. Clear your desk. You're never coming back, Diley. You're fired. Did he just say what I think he just said?
Just pair them up with Hanson. They'll be fine. They'll win.
All of that was not just a leisurely stroll down nostalgia lane for the sake of remembering how hilarious Beavis and Butthead was. It was like he's trying to break my heart, because all of it was a build-up to his claim that Beavis and Butthead was the most wienery band of the 90s. You're fired. You're so beyond fired.
I'm hiring him back.
Whole world's against me, I swear to God.
I agree. Most wienery band ever. But not wienery than Aerosmith or Hanson.
Or Hanson. Somebody left a comment on our Facebook page that they were sad/disappointed that Sugar Ray didn't even make the Sweet 16. And I'm like, I assure you they came very close. I did consider them, and I did consider Smash Mouth. They would have been like 17 and 18.
Yeah, we have to do another one. That's all there is to it.
Yeah,
There's just too many of them out there.
I think so. If we do it again, X number of months from now, next March, whatever it might be, we'll have more people. And people will be more ready for it too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
You want to go first?
Sure. All mine are really short this week.
Okay.
That's why I felt like I could tear into you at the beginning of the podcast for your excuses about the weather.
I'm a sensitive boy. That's my whole explanation and excuse. That's why. Anyways.
But you, like I said, you can have excuses, but you should just try to make them really positive and strong sounding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, have the excuses.
I guess I do, yeah.
But not like, well, the weather made me sad. Or, well, I couldn't go to the library. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a master class out there from some alpha dog.
I was just about to say I might have to email my buddy Corey and have him help me to co-write some good excuses. He seems like he's really good at that type of thing.
Good excuses?
Yeah. Good alpha sounding excuses.
Well, it's like when you get pulled over by the cops. Like, how would you handle that situation? Because you got to have an excuse, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
He comes up to the window and he's like, "You know why I pulled you over? What's your excuse? What are you saying to him?"
I always say no. I was told to always say no, and I understood why it made sense, so I always say no.
And then when he says, "Well, I saw you were speeding a little bit back there."
Speeding, swerving, you've got a tail light out, whatever it might be. Say you had no idea, because of course you had no idea.
Like you just weren't paying attention.
Right. Or it must be a new development, which sometimes it actually is, but yeah, just, it must be a new development. I didn't know about that.
See, in that situation, I just hand him my paperwork and say, "I'm not answering your dumb questions." I do that every time. And then they always try to follow up with another question. And then I have to give them the look and be like, "What did I just say?" And then I give him the question. See, that's an alpha way of handling a situation.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All right.
I need to be more alpha and less sensitive. That's what should be on my notes. But anyways, yeah, go ahead. We have front loaded this episode a lot.
But it's all good stuff.
Yeah.
It's all important stuff. Okay.
Luckily, technically, I only brought in one topic today. Technically, but you'll know what I mean.
Because you were talking about the Wiener bands, right?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We had that.
Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Great legs.
I'm going to show a little video here.
How do you get them?
You recognize this?
I used to do aerobics till I dropped. Then I found that.
Well, I knew even without the name.
Oh, man, it's got her name right
Yeah,
there.
I knew.
Every single time you squeeze thigh master, you
what I
strengthen
wanted
and
to talk
tone right
about
where you need it.
this
So
episode
it's easy to
is
squeeze
this
your way to
beautiful lady.
shapely hips
I
and
can
thighs.
even remember during this part
thought
in the
I'd never fit
commercial,
into these-
she said, squeeze your way to shapely hips and thighs. I remember that shit.
Yeah.
Fucking repetitive branding of commercials. Absolutely, man.
So this is 90s Suzanne Summers right here. She died in 2023. So last year. She just died like a few months ago.
Right. Yeah.
Which I didn't know until I started looking this up. So I brought in Heidi Fleiss and who else? There was somebody else I had in mind too, but female entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Suzanne Summers is what do you remember anything about her besides the Thigh Master?
Yeah, she was Carol on Step by Step.
Is that what her name was on Step by Step?
Carol
Okay.
Foster, yeah.
So
She was on, was she the one on Three's Company?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got kicked off the show apparently because she wanted more money, and they were just like, "Fuck off."
That actually started making headlines to some degree when she died. And it was something I never knew up until that point. So about a year ago-ish.
So she's a great feminist icon, standing up for her pay raise. She wanted to get paid the same amount that Jack Ritter was getting, or not even the same amount. She just wanted like $5,000 more. He's already getting paid like an ass ton of money.
Right.
And it's good to look back and remember the good old days when you can just fire a bitch and be like, "Hey, take a hike. We're not giving you any more money." Why? Because Jack is our man and you're just an actress and we'll get another one and people are still going to watch this show. And they did. But that's not why I brought her in. I brought her in because she is remembered almost entirely. I bet you most people you ask would never even remember Step by Step. So Step by Step actually goes into my next topic that I have after this, but she is universally remembered for the Thigh Master.
Yeah,
Everybody remembers the Thigh Master. Everybody had a Thigh Master. Everybody remembers their mom and their friend's mom having a Thigh Master. Not my fat mom. She didn't have a Thigh Master. But many, many moms had the Thigh Master. Suzanne Summers, she did all the commercials for it, but did you know she actually was a co-investor in the Thigh Master? Somebody came to her and they said, we got this thing. We want you to invest in it and be part of it. And she used it. She liked it and became a 50-50 partner on the Thigh Master, which is why she was on the commercials.
50-50, wow.
And she absolutely made fucking bank. Does it say how much this thing went for? I'm going to go back to that video for a second and see if it says what that thing costs.
331-9600. Have your credit card ready or send check on money order for $19.95 plus $4.50 for shipping and handling to this address. No CODs, please.
It'd be like 75 now.
So back in the 90s, she would have made about $150 million on the Thigh Master.
Oh,
just her half of the product, she would have made $150. She made absolute bank on this thing.
Dang, right on.
But the thing is, this is why she's a hero. It's none of that. It's not the entrepreneurship. It's not standing up to
the ABC
misogynistic patriarchy. She is a hero because she saw this wave of obesity coming at us from years away. And she tried to stop that by putting Thigh Masters in the house of every housewife in America because she saw what was about to happen. And
the 90s fast food explosion.
Oh yeah. If I guarantee Suzanne Summers looked around her in the months before she died and looked at all these fat cows, and not only just being fat, but people celebrating being fat. Body positivity is a thing. And people want to, we're at a point now where not only is it completely acceptable to be fat, you're expected to celebrate being fat.
In modern day, yeah.
All of the science out there saying strokes, heart attacks, diabetes, all these problems, there are still people out there saying, you know what? Being fat is something beautiful. And this is something that needs to be respected. And you have people saying that they shouldn't pay for extra seats on the airlines and all kinds of crazy shit.
Hashtag beautiful at any size.
So it's not just that there was an explosion of obesity. It is all the politics that came along. It's fat politics that came along with it. Suzanne Summers is a hero for trying to stand against that back before any of us even knew that this was just around the corner. Who knew that Southwest Airlines would be giving free seats to fat people and preventing me from getting a seat on that same plane, even though I'm willing to pay for it because of fat politics that Suzanne Summers tried to stop back then with the Thigh Master. Thank you, Suzanne. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
You were a hero, and your acting had nothing to do with it.
She had I was a big TGIF fanatic. I was a big ABC comedies fanatic. You know that.
Is that what Step by Step was on?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was on TGIF for the majority of its run. I think it was on Tuesdays for at least a year or two. But yeah.
Here's a question. Does the Thigh Master actually work? Because it just looks like a fad bullshit piece of exercise equipment that probably doesn't work. Don't you get that impression looking at it? That's what I think of it when I look at the commercials.
So it's either a janky lie or it's ingenious in its simplicity. I really don't know which.
I didn't either. So I looked into it.
Okay.
And there's really no good answer out there. There's some people that absolutely swear by it and say it's the greatest thing ever and that it helps them. Look, when you are looking at old pictures, no, not old pictures, but pictures of old Suzanne Summers in her 70s, her legs look great. Her butt looks great. That was the other thing. She did the Butt Master too. Remember the Butt Master?
Yeah, man. How could I have forgotten?
Was a thing. Oh man, I should have grabbed that commercial and had that playing. Because that was really pretty fucking bizarre. But
send me a link. I'll put it on our Facebook by the time this month is over for Women's History Month.
Yeah, because she was a hero and an entrepreneur. She was a hero in her entrepreneurship.
Also butts. But yeah.
Yeah, and helping the butts too. So if you go on YouTube and you watch, because obviously there's videos of chicks using the Thigh Master and they're like, well, let's see if this works or not. Some absolutely swear by it. Science says that there's no proof that it works at all. But the chicks on YouTube who are actually using the product say that it works. So, I mean, who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the science that gave us body positivity science? Or are you going to listen to the chicks that actually use the Thigh Master and swear by it?
Who are we going to believe?
I'm going to believe the chicks. If you say you use the Thigh Master every day and you have great looking thighs, who am I to argue? That's science. That's field research right there. You can't argue against that.
So you're saying believe all women, right?
I'm saying believe the ones that use the Thigh Master because they're hot.
Damn.
Don't believe the fat ones.
Damn, I was trying to catch you.
All right. Anyway, that's all I had. I just wanted to do Suzanne Summers. And cool. Older Suzanne Summers, she was pretty hot too. She was obvious. She died at 76. She's very obviously looks like she's 76, but she's still got a great shape, great figure. And it's probably from using the Thigh Master every day.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you're probably it's probably really easy to take good care of yourself when you're sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars.
No, it's not. Because you still have to develop the discipline to sit down and do the Thigh Master every single day. With hundreds of millions of dollars.
You pay people to be your discipline.
With hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm just sitting by the pool all day doing coke. I'm not using the Thigh Master. So, good for her.
Yeah, all right. Well,
that's my second to last entry for Women's
History Month. Okay. Yep. Well, actually, in the time that I've been sitting here with this blanket on, I went from being a little too cold to being a little too warm. I think I might take this blanket off. Kind of let it all breathe a little bit. Whew, goodness sakes.
What you got going on there? Is that some mama bear boobies?
You remember when Madonna had the cone bra in the 90s? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you once again, Cassie. Cassie, who made me the Louise Belcher / Babs Bunny pink ears hat.
Those look like Babs Bunny boobs. They're a little furry.
Oh, me so bunny.
You should have taken your shirt off first before you put that on.
Oh, no way.
What?
I think it comes across better this way.
You don't want people to see your real boobs? Yeah, but you have a bra or a bro.
Bras are for ladies, sir. Meet the Madonna bro. The bro-donna, if you will.
She did that in 3 days. That's pretty fucking
impressive. Yeah, she did it in
Is it like
about 3 days.
It's not crochet though. It's like knitted. Just knitting.
It's just knitted, yeah. Yep.
She just whipped that together. That's fucking crazy.
Heck yeah.
I don't understand knitting. It's a complete mystery to me. It's like hieroglyphics. I've watched people do it, but I don't get it.
It takes discipline, right?
Absolutely. We keep sit there that. And whip out a bra like that.
But also have it. Yeah. You get used to it.
So she had to get your measurements.
Yeah. She contacted me for my measurements.
She didn't get your midsection measurements. That's looking pretty tight down there.
No, I'm good.
You should stand up. I don't know. No, stay sitting. Stay sitting.
And in case it's not super obvious, it's a Hamburglar shirt underneath it. I figured, well, if my shirt's going to be covered up tonight, I should wear one that I've always considered kind of a 90s shirt, but kind of not. And I'm like, well, my Hamburglar shirt, that's a no-brainer.
Why isn't it kind of? Because he was in the 80s too?
Yeah, because the majority of like commercials with him in it was either the 80s or the 90s. It's like so split down the middle. I really can't tell if I could say he was more predominant than the 90s. Anywho, Madonna.
I hope you're going to talk about her cone bra.
No, not really.
What? You got to talk about that. Like, where did that even? Everybody remembers that aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Where did that even come from?
I think it was somewhere around 92 or 93. She just went on tour and started wearing it or something like that. I don't.
There's no story behind it at all.
I can get back to you on that again. I was looking up other Madonna related stuff. I didn't really get the story behind the cone bra. I just figured it was it's just another wacky, thing that she did to get attention. I don't know. Anyways, Madonna, she was catapulted into icon status in the 80s, and it seems like the very first thing she did was just figure out how to sell herself like really well. It happens. Yeah. When you get to that Madonna icon status, you're a money-making juggernaut. You gotta figure out how to sell yourself, and your agents and your handlers and your execs are gonna make sure that they're making you do that.
Well, she wasn't just selling her person; she was putting some skin in the game. Let's just say she was good at it.
She had a penchant for just kind of doing whatever she wanted, which ties into that. I guess that's what she wanted was to show off a lot of skin. You know what I mean? But she never, I feel like in the 90s, she never did a whole crap load to be any kind of good role model. And I'm not saying that she needed to. I'm just saying for me personally, when I look back, I'm like, I think the 90s didn't have a whole buttload of good female mentors and role models in popular media. And I actually was Googling that just a little bit, and I skimmed one article that said that there's kind of some conspiracy, quote unquote, going around that because of the women's liberation movement in the 70s where they were burning bras and stuff like that, this was kind of payback for that. Like popular media purposely engineered a situation where there weren't a whole lot of strong females to look up to once you got towards like the 90s. Like it was like kind of systematic like that. Do I want to give that much credence? I don't know.
I guess I don't understand the logic. Like the execs, the people who were in charge of all the media back then weren't putting these people on?
Yeah, I guess.
But I feel like there was a lot of female role models back then. I mean, whether they were good or bad, I don't know, but...
In the 90s?
Yeah, I feel like there was a ton of them.
Yeah, but who comes to mind as being like super good example, super good role model from the 90s?
It just depends on what you're looking for, though.
Yeah. I mean, in music or in TV or in the movies.
Amy Grant?
Yeah, maybe. Like for me, my biggest hero is like Tina Fey, but she was post 90s. So I'm like, well, who was the Tina Fey of the 90s? And I can't really think of anybody. But
well, no, I thought you just specifically meant like anti-feminist, like more trad wifey type of thing. That's why I said Amy Grant.
Okay, and she was that. Yeah.
If you want feminist icons,
I was going to say we're
all over the place. They were everywhere.
Well, I mean, like
Courtney Love was one.
Ani DeFranco, Tori Amos. Yeah, sure.
All those people were. Tori Amos, yeah, absolutely.
So I like that. That then poses the question: well, who was like a really universal? Who was like the Michelle Obama or the Tina Fey or the Marsha Brady or whatever? That's just like everyone agrees. Oh yeah, she's just wholesome. She gets her done, and she's just like it.
From the 90s?
Yeah, who was that?
It was probably a TV character.
Yeah.
Because did they really exist otherwise?
Aunt Becky from Full House? Maybe.
I don't know.
And even then, she was not really a primary character. Yeah, I think that in the females, maybe in the 90s, maybe females were kind of hard up for really good, big, universal, strong role models, and Madonna could have been it, but she wasn't. And like if anybody was in a place to do that, it could have been her. You know what I mean?
What did she even do in the 90s?
Well,
all I remember from the 90s as far as Madonna went is just a constant downhill slide. Like, she definitely was not on top of the world like she was in the 80s.
Right.
Like, she really just got into, like, making dog shit at every turn.
She started out the 90s with a lot of provocative stuff, like her coffee table book called Sex.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And all the music that she was releasing around the time of that book was all, it was Justify My Love, and it was erotica and all that stuff, and she was just really trying to sell sex super hard.
Sure, and it was, she did that dumb movie. It was like a love story or something. Wasn't it a musical even?
Oh,
I didn't see it.
She did Evita.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, that was probably 95, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so she was doing stuff in the 90s, but it was all just trite, forgettable bullshit.
Right. Now, I don't want to judge her morally because I'm not the morality police. You know what I mean?
I'll be the morality police.
But she just got to a point where I feel like she was getting paid to just kind of get herself off. And it's a little bit disappointing because...
I was going to say that's great. Good for her.
It just, I don't know. It made me wonder, like, how much further she could take it in that direction before she would kind of like crash and burn. You know what I mean?
I mean, did you see her facelift stuff that was all over social media not too long ago?
I'm getting there. Barf. so she spent.
It's all a continuum. It's all just time is a river that leads everybody to where they are in any given moment.
And people kind of don't change, like a river doesn't really change. So she was pretty, provocative and trying to sell herself and sell sex and do whatever she wanted and just be kind of a jackass in the early 90s. Like, she got to that point.
Yeah, she was kind of bitchy, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I do remember that about her.
I say jackass because, like, not good person plus like super stubborn about it. I'm like, yeah, jackass is like perfectly like Tom Green. I consider people like Tom Green and Madonna both to be just jackasses. So March 8th, 1994. So this is halfway through the 90s, right? March 8th, 1994. She releases a single called I'll Remember. It was on the soundtrack for a movie called With Honors. I don't know much about the movie, but the song was awesome. And it was soft and it was pretty, but also artistic and layered. And it was basically a song about mentorship. It was like, I'll remember the love that you gave me, the way that you changed me, the strength that you gave me. You taught me like how to learn to let go. The line is, I learned to let go of the illusion that we can possess. And I'm like, oh, what does that mean? That sounds, as like a 12-year-old kid, I'm like, what does she mean by that? That's weird. And that was one of the things.
Was she singing that song on the same tour she was wearing the cone boobies on?
That I don't know. It's entirely possible, but
because that feels like a weird juxtaposition.
I'm getting to a weird juxtaposition, as a matter of fact, in just a minute here. It was a great song. It was a song about serenity, a happiness from serenity of learning to let go of the idea of possessing people and stuff. And like, she's like, I'm singing this to you, the person who taught me how to be this way. And in the song, it wasn't clear if she was singing to a guy or a woman. At least I don't think it was clear. But I'm like, yeah, man, that song was cool. I wish more songs were like that on the radio. I really liked it. And to this day, it's literally one of my favorite songs.
What's it called?
I'll Remember. I'd put it easily in my top 50 favorite radio songs of all time. Easily.
I can't think of what I'm sure I heard it at the time, but I can't think of what it is.
It was released as a single, like I said, on March 8th, 1994. 23 days later was her infamous appearance on David Letterman, where she said the F word 14 times in one appearance.
Good for her.
She was such a jackass. Everything she did was just to be a mook. Mook is just someone who it's a troll. Someone who wants to get in your face for the sake of getting in your face. And just like asking.
She did a good thing. That's such bullshit that you can't swear on fucking TV. And that was just dumb anyway.
That was her point. She was like, TV shows can show violence and this and that, but you can't say the F word. Like, how dumb is that? It's like, yeah, cool, good point. But I mean, time and place. Like, you're making Dave super uncomfortable. He's just sitting here trying to do his job.
Who cares? He's fine.
Who cares? Well, it annoyed some people, but then she refused to leave the set, and the guest that was supposed to be after her got bumped because she wouldn't leave.
Ha ha ha.
Hey, if I was that guy and I came all the way to New York just to get bumped off because Madonna couldn't stop being a jackass, I'd be miffed about it. Like, and this was
What, there's only one talk show that you can go on in New York? You couldn't go and be on the guy with the big face, whatever his name was, or the big chin?
now who's making excuses?
Hey.
You're saying that he has no excuse for being upset.
What do you have about strong female empowerment? Why do you hate it so much?
In this particular instance, if she would have been any more of a jackass, and if she would have kept refusing to leave the stage, which she eventually did, the musical guest that night would have gotten bumped off too, which was Counting Crows.
Oh, she should have stayed on.
Screw you, buddy. In case you didn't know, next to Weird Al, Counting Crows is my favorite band of all time. And that was during the period of time when they were getting their first national TV exposure, getting their name out there to the world and showing the world, hey, we're like the best new band around. I think they performed.
Yeah, but Madonna's legacy.
That's how icons are, right? So she wouldn't leave the set. One guest got bumped. Thankfully, the musical guest still played.
Who was the guest that got bumped?
It was somebody who held a record for having done something like
So nobody.
Like amusing.
Nobody that can hold a candle to Madonna is what you're saying.
It was like a world record, like pancake balancer or some dumb shit like that.
Who cares?
Hey man, this person was about to live out their dream of being on Letterman. Madonna can be on national TV anytime she wants to. She just has to fucking, make a new cone bra and get people talking. Then, after 1994, after the Dave Letterman thing and the song for the soundtrack, her next musical output in the 90s was that album where she did the song Ray of Light. I think the album was also called Ray of Light. At this point in time, she became a mother. Everyone was like, oh, with her art, she's kind of settling down a little bit and kind of calming down. But, I mean, I was dissatisfied with that 90s story arc of Madonna because she never really showed any maturity. Like, just because you have a kid and you stop being a jackass doesn't mean you've grown up as a person.
Of course. Well, but when you have money, you don't have to grow up. And you see this happen all the time with people. Especially people who get really wealthy and really famous really young.
Yeah.
Like she did.
Yeah.
You don't ever have to grow up.
I mean, early 80s, borderline Madonna, she had to have been like 20. Mm-hmm. So she got thrown into it real quick, real hard. So, yeah. She never seemed like she was really apologetic for anything. You don't have to be like apologetic, but just kind of like make it a point to say, hey, I don't do that anymore because I'm like this now. No, she didn't.
If it was me, I would have gone back and apologized to Pancake Man. As
you should, as any good human would dignifiedly do to another person.
I'm saying in terms of just pure entertainment, if I'm sitting there watching the David Letterman show that night and she is hogging the stage and getting people bumped and dropping fuck every 2 seconds, good for her. That's what I want to see as a viewer. That was my only point. That would be a memorable episode of David Letterman.
I just realized, I should try to find that clip. It should be on the internet. I should try to find that clip and share it on our Facebook. It's probably there. So fast forward several years past the 90s, she did Ray of Light. She did Music Will Bring the People Together. Kind of a cool message, kind of showing a little bit more of a settled down, grown up side to some degree.
Or is she just getting kind of virtue signally?
That could be it too.
Because that's what happened to Tori Amos too. Yeah. A lot of times what happens with these people is they get, like I said, they get very rich, they get very famous, they get very bored and uninspired, and they have to find some kind of cause to jump into and be a part of just to keep from blowing their head off.
Yeah. And to stay relevant also, and just to,
sure.
If it's an opportunity for a cash grab, like, hey, with my name notoriety, I throw myself into this.
Yeah, like, so Tori Amos did that with with Trump when he ran for president. She put out like an anti-Trump album or, whatever. And I thought, well, I never listened to it. I'm like, well, it's going to be dog shit probably because it's all just virtue signal bullshit. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, good for you. If you can get your fans to throw a couple $1 million at you, hey, go for it. That's my attitude.
Don't be a hater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't be a hater ass buster.
Yeah. I don't care how much they want to virtue signal. And
if you're not super pleased with what she's doing, make fun of her. Don't diss her. Just make jokes about it. Right. Sure. Anyways, after all these years, Madonna, she had more success past the 90s, but she obviously got old because guess what? Eventually you get old.
Is she in her 70s now?
I checked right before the show today. I literally asked Google, at what age are you considered elderly? Your retirement age is 65 years old. How old is Madonna? Madonna is 65 years old. I'm like, yeah. Madonna's elderly now. Yep. So was it a year ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago? She was going to do a tour, and that tour was going to come through Chicago. It was going to come through Chicago for 2 nights, and then they this had to have been like 2021 because the dates were announced, and then because COVID was still an iffy situation, I think if I'm recalling this correctly, they postponed it like 6 months to a year, and then it went from 2 nights in Chicago to only 1 night in Chicago or something like that. Either way, I was dead set on going. Wanted to knock her off my bucket list. What a name, Madonna, right? Like I can say I saw Madonna. Everyone's like, well, she's not that good live anymore. I'm like, yeah, but I kind of don't care. I just want to be able to say I saw Madonna.
I'd rather watch her on YouTube.
And hear the songs. Yeah, to each their own. Then she got that work done on her face.
Oh, so now you don't want to see her anymore? No. Are you scared?
I'm not being a hater. I'm not 100% sure if it was plastic surgery or just collagen injections or some other third thing or a combination therein. But when video footage and pictures surfaced online of her new face work,
it was pretty horrifying.
It was by every and any metric horrifying.
Here is why I would not want to see her after she had that work done, because I just would not want to be in the same place in the dark with that thing. That just sounds horrifying.
I thought you'd be afraid of it exploding and you'd get pus all over you.
No, I would be afraid of her seeing me in the audience and just like growing claws out of her hand and like leaping off the stage like a fucking baboon or something and just eating my neck out.
That character from the beginning of that movie VHS, when they were all in the motel room and she's like, I like you. And yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, like that.
Like pouncing on you at lightning demon speed and just you go from 0 to dead. Yeah. Because I don't know if there's a cause and effect relationship here, but it was very shortly after the video and pictures surfaced of her face that she canceled all of her tour dates. Wouldn't you know it?
Because of that?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't know if it's because of that, but it would be kind of a coincidence if it wasn't.
You think you're a sensitive boy. I think she's sensitive. I think she got all of that backlash, and she was just like, oh, fuck it.
But she went on social media to say, I don't care what people think. I think
fucking right.
I was about to say, like, it doesn't matter if she meant it. She was going to say it no matter what, whether she meant it. But so I never got to see Madonna at this rate. It's kind of looking like I'll never get to see her, but if by some miracle
she'll be
tours,
dead before that face gets fixed.
And like what's she get now that she's 65? Like shit, man. But I mean, Cher and Tina Turner did live shows into their 70s, I believe. I think Cher is still doing them.
Priest is still going.
Yeah,
like the old metal guys are all still doing it.
Rob Halford still has to go off stage between each song to hit his oxygen, but he's still going. Mm-hmm. So who knows what the future will hold as far as whether or not
he's going to kill you though.
Well, say that again.
He doesn't look like he's going to kill you in the
yeah. So that's
like eat your throat out. He might fuck you, but he's not going to kill you. And frankly, if Rob Halford wants a piece of me in the dark, I'd have at it, boy.
You'd be like, not if I fuck you first. moral of the story is I'm trying to take the good with the bad with Madonna. She was kind of a jackass, and she is still kind of a jackass. I liked a lot of her.
She will be forever.
Yeah. Somebody like that isn't going to change. I think.
But
riches and fame
makes people fun though. Like everything about her jackassery is what made her entertaining and fun. Even the weird face lift thing. That's weird and entertaining.
Yeah.
And everybody on Twitter, the memes that came out of that were absolutely amazing. So good for her.
Yeah, but the concert
good for
cancellation.
Her for continuing to entertain millions of people every day.
I would trade the face work for seeing her in concert, but again, to each their own.
Way.
I'm not going to lie. In the 90s, I thought a lot of her music was catchy. I still do. And to some degree, I liked her.
She's a pop star.
Yeah.
It's all going to be catchy.
I wouldn't say I ever had a crush on her, but obviously there were certain scenes and certain music videos where I'm like, oh, yeah, I see all the hubbub. Like
I've always found her repulsive.
Really?
Yeah, I've always thought she was a disgusting human being.
I mean, like I said, certain moments, I'm just like, oh yeah, I see it. I see the allure. Like what she's doing. I see why so many hordes of people are into it.
So Paula Abdul was big right around the same time she was, and Paula Abdul was the one I always had a crush on. That was 80s.
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s, that pocket. Yep. Paula Abdul and Janet Jackson were pretty big at that time, and Madonna.
Paula Abdul was hot as fuck.
So, as far as the good and the bad, the catchiness, but also the jackassery. Oh, and I made a note that there was also a lot of sweetness in some of her songs. She had her sweet side. She was only human.
She didn't write her own music.
I think the stat that I read was she has at least co-written 70% of all of her songs.
So the 30% is the sweet songs you were talking about that were written for her.
Or she was just in that mood to be someone else that day. I don't know. But then again, I also take issue with somebody saying, oh yeah, well, I co-write my music. It's like, yeah, but what does that really mean?
That doesn't mean shit.
It very well could mean absolute shit. So, I guess that's it. I just wish she had, and my final thought on Madonna was, I'm still a little bit dissatisfied with her story arc. She was a jackass and she sold herself for sex like a lot. And then I wish she would have been like, hey, I'm different now. I'm a little more responsible and mature and whatever.
Had like a redemption story.
Yes, to some degree. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. I think what would have been really awesome is
redemption is fucking boring though. It's like everything happened.
Not to us sensitive boys.
Well, but look at what happened to Guns N' Roses, right? They were all these kick-ass rocker dudes that were destroying their hotel rooms and getting high on fucking heroin. And
all the chicks they banged wore bras like this.
And their story is, now we all got sober. Now we all got sober and maybe we'll go on tour again. That's fucking boring. Sobriety is boring, especially in a rock star, especially in somebody like Madonna. Not being a badass bitch is not good for Madonna's brand.
I can't argue with that.
Because why is she special? If she's just another
what is
housewife,
her brand? Yeah,
she's just like everybody else in Orange County or wherever.
Yeah, I don't know. Once you're set for life and you don't need to sell yourself anymore, grow up. Maybe I don't know.
But then nobody's entertained by that.
Yeah, to each their own. Some people care about that. I just wish that in the early 2000s she would have put out a second book after her sex book
called Home Life,
called Brain.
Brain?
Yeah, because then she could have filled it with all kinds of cool double entendres, talking about how she thinks more and is more mindful now. But it all would have just been dick and boob jokes and stuff like that, low key references to fucking.
How about Lips? And it's all just shots of different facelifts that she's had over the years.
That's good too. She should have put out 2 more books.
Not just the after effect either. Like the doctor actually breaking bones in her face, good shots of getting right in there and ripping shit open and reconnecting stuff.
Okay.
I'd buy that book. Who cares about Madonna's pussy? I mean, I didn't understand it back then. Who wants to see that shit?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? There's way better looking girls out there in Hustler or Playboy.
So I was reading, when I was reading about her Letterman appearance where she said the F word so many times, what I was reading, the articles and stuff, was talking about how over time after that appearance, her and Dave kind of made up, and she would like say little things and do little things to kind of like get back in his good graces. But even when she did that, she was still kind of a...
Isn't David Letterman a notorious asshole too, though?
Yeah, but it's super low key. You know what I mean? Like everything he does is extremely assholish, but it's done in that low key way where he's not a mook. He's not in your face. He's just a dick. So it seems like whenever Madonna would talk about it, or whenever she would be on record trying to like clarify something she did, the way she talked was, I mean, I don't want to stigmatize anybody, but like almost schizophrenic, a little tiny bit. The way she talks, it's like she's not in the same reality as us. Like the way she addresses realities and confronting things, it's so abstract. And this is coming from me who loves abstraction. The way she talks is so abstract. I think that fame in the 80s just fried her brain right away. And
it does that to everybody.
And she's just been...
It does that to everybody whose brains aren't fully developed yet.
Yeah, you might have a point there.
I'm not surprised.
I guess that's all I got from Madonna.
All right.
It was really weird holding the blanket the entire time you were talking about Suzanne Summers. That normally that whole time I'm drinking my drinks and listening to you, and I wasn't touching my drinks because I didn't want my boobs to be exposed.
I thought you were just really, really cold.
I have a full soda and a full beer I haven't even touched yet, so.
Okay. Well, you can drink that.
It's just different.
I will look at the chat here. All right, let's do some of these before I go on to my thing. Alicia says Oasis should have won. Over Hanson, though? Over Hanson? I don't know about over Hanson. But yeah, they should have won over U2. I agree with that. Pat says, I didn't go to the gym yesterday because the weather pissed me off.
Thanks, Pat. That's kind of...
He lives in Minnesota, and he probably had 3 feet of snow dumped on him. I'm guessing that's why. So in other words, you still don't have an excuse.
That I can articulate right now.
Have I told you that you should just get a gym membership? I feel like I've told you that already. I should too, probably, because I should lift weights. But I feel like I got enough space down here. I can just buy myself a weight set if I really wanted to. And
get a Thigh Master. Those things really work. That's what I've been hearing.
You know, we used to have one. I don't know if we still do, but yeah, I should give that a try too. But my thighs already look fucking fantastic. Like they really do. I got great legs.
We'll get you in some Richard Simmons shorts and verify that.
Because I do a lot of cardio. That's the thing. Because I work out almost every day and do anywhere from a half hour to an hour of cardio just straight. Because it's so easy to just pop on a podcast, get on an elliptical for an hour. It's so easy to do that. But the thing is, it doesn't do any good for my chest and arms, but I got fantastic fucking legs. If you want to see them after the show, I'll show them to you. I'll show you what you could have.
You've never seen my legs.
What? I already know they're not as good as my legs. There's no way they can be. Anyway, Alicia says, dude, Andy, the
squeeze part always made me giggle.
Like the machines in the gym that mimic the Thigh Master movement. Okay. It really only works on your inner thighs, though. But it does work. Okay. So Pat works out all the time. He knows this shit.
Okay. That's cool.
All I can do is speculate. Alicia says, Andy, you're living in a material world, and
I am a material girl.
Yep.
Or boy.
The cone bra was from the Vogue era. Vogue, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That had to have been 91, I think. So, okay, and I had guessed like 93. Yeah, I was a little bit off.
Okay.
Here's a little Easter egg. Every week 2 hours before we go live, I post a thing on Facebook that says we go live in 2 hours, and I try to put some sort of 90s reference off to the side on my graphic. This time it was a silhouette of Garth when he was wearing an all black suit, like bodysuit, doing a weird interpretive dance because it was from the skit where Wayne and Garth were with Madonna. This would have had to have been 92-ish. And I'm like, I know what's perfect. I know what's perfect for this week's We Go On in 2 hours. So that's Garth. I'm not sure if any of you noticed that, but now you know.
Well, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, my last topic, I am going out on the women of the 90s by celebrating all of the most beautiful women of the 90s. Well, celebrating like 10 of them, because these are the women specifically that I personally had a crush on. And what got me thinking about this topic was actually because I was looking at all the Suzanne Summers stuff. I completely forgot that she did that step-by-step show. And this girl, I used to have a crush on. And I completely forgot about that. All I could remember was there was a girl on Step by Step that I thought was super hot when I was a kid.
You should wear your hair like that.
And I used to love this girl. What was her name on the show? Like Dana or something?
Yep.
Okay, that sounds right. So Dana from Step by Step.
Cody would call her Dana Burger. It was the funniest shit ever.
See, that's all the shit I don't remember TV at all. I watch the show all the time because of the girl, but I don't remember anything about it. And I never would have thought of it either. Well, I never would have thought of doing this whole topic if it wasn't for Suzanne Summers. And the Thigh Master was given to me by a fan, I should say. I didn't come up with that on my own. I completely forgot about the Thigh Master. Somebody was like, hey, for Women's History Month, you should do Suzanne Summers. And I was like,
nice.
Yeah, that's perfect because she did the Thigh. But this person was like, yeah, she was in all the Thigh Master commercials and everybody had a Thigh Master. And I'm like, but she was an entrepreneur. Which I didn't know. I didn't know she had like a stake in the company at all. But when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, she is a female role model.
I wonder who made more money, her off the Thigh Master or George Foreman off his grills. I'm going to have to look that up later because now I'm curious.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to know.
And Foreman grills started in the late 90s, didn't they?
I have no idea. But they were a made-for-TV thing.
Yeah, an infomercial thing. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Dana from Step by Step. I got her on there first. This is in no particular order. I don't like these girls better than the other ones. I just want to have a big debauched orgy with all of them at the same time. That would be amazing. That's all I'm going for here. Do you know who this beautiful lady is?
I don't
Actually, this might be...
I don't think I do.
This might be too pedophile. I think she might be a teenager in this. But anyway, teenager or not... This was the Jennifer Connelly. So she was in The Labyrinth.
Yeah.
I think that might be what she's best known for. But that's not where I fell in love with her. She did a movie way before The Labyrinth, which wasn't made in the 90s, but I saw it in the 90s. It was a movie called, apparently the real name is called Phenomenon.
Okay.
The American version was called Creepers. Or Night of the Creepers, or something like that. Creepers, I think it was just called.
Why does that not look like Jennifer Connelly to me, though?
Because she's a teenager. This is what she looked like in that movie.
Yeah.
So she's got to be, what, like 14 in this?
Okay.
But I loved her so much.
Sure.
So this Creepers movie was a horror, because we rented horror movies all the time when we were kids. Pat will tell you this in the chat. That's all we watched. Creepers was one. It was just this low budget looking thing that we got. That was back when they rented out VHS tapes in grocery stores. Like that was a thing before Blockbuster and Family Video and all these big video stores, video chains moved in. You got videos at that period in grocery stores in the early 90s. So this Creepers movie, Jennifer Connelly, she was in this. Loved her. Thought she was absolutely stunning and gorgeous. And it's a horror movie, so she's getting chased by things and swimming in pools full of dead bodies and all kinds of stuff. It was fun. And Iron Maiden had a track in that movie too, which was really cool.
It was tailor-made for you.
It really was. It really was. It was a good horror movie. The love of my life was in it. The love of my life at the time. And Iron Maiden.
Because now she's mine. But anyways.
You wish.
Right on.
Okay.
The movies I most know her for are Labyrinth, A Beautiful Mind.
Oh, Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem. Yeah.
Right. I forgot
Requiem
about
for a
that one.
Dream. And that's pretty much it.
Oh, she was in that shitty version of the Hulk too.
With Ed Norton or with the Eric
one.
Bana.
The one, before Ed Norton, before that Norton one.
The MCU universe movie before MCU universe movies became a thing.
Yeah, she was in a pretty shitty like CGI Hulk movie.
Okay.
Dark City was the other one. Dark City came out in the 90s too. And we went to the theater to see that. And so seeing my beloved in this other really fucking awesome movie. See, the thing with Jennifer Connelly is she's been in so many great movies, but I don't think her career really took off because she was in such shitty movies all the time too. So The Labyrinth was really popular. Dark City was really popular, but Requiem for a Dream was pretty popular. But I think all of those movies were just like cult movies. They weren't really pop culture movies, so whatever.
Can we have a Jennifer Connelly movie marathon at your house sometime in the upcoming months? And why is the answer yes?
Most of them suck, though. Or, well, like three of
the
them
movies we
really
watched
suck.
on Halloween sucked, but in a good way. So
she wasn't in movies that did that. I mean, maybe.
Let's put a pin in it and come back to it. I just feel like I want to watch these old movies she was in now. But anyways.
Okay, this girl right here. Do you know who this is?
I mean...
You've seen her and stuff. Denise Richards.
Oh yeah, of course.
She was
Wild
in,
Things.
Yeah, but I fell in love with her because she was in Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers as well.
She was so fucking hot in Starship Troopers.
Sure.
So
yeah, there was that shower scene where like everybody was just naked.
Yeah.
Almost like it wasn't a big deal. I'm like,
yep.
These people are showering.
Yeah, I would love
naked.
it. And she had such a great body. Look at that shit.
Right on. What? Oh yeah,
Fiona Apple. She's so fucking hot. Have you seen her recently though? Oh God, the heroin has really taken its toll on poor Fiona Apple. But back in the day, she was absolutely stunning. Like this is a good picture of her.
The album that she put out like 10 or 11 years ago was fucking awesome.
Really?
Really, really awesome.
I didn't even know that.
The Idler Wheel, I think was that one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I only know the one from the 90s where she spent the whole music video in her underwear.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And that's probably why I fell in love with her, because I thought that was such an amazing video.
That was Criminal. I think.
Oh, yeah. That's what it was called. Sure.
I think Beavis and Butthead commentated that one. I'll have to look.
Lots to talk about. Lots to jack off to. Gwen Stefani. She was another 90s rocker broad.
She actually comes to mind as far as what we were talking about an hour ago. What 90s ladies were there to look up to?
You think she was one?
She's kind of one of them, yeah.
You think? I don't know.
As far as who there was to choose from in the 90s, yeah.
She's pretty wholesome. I guess she's all right.
And just like, she was about women's empowerment in her own way, but it wasn't overbearing, which is why I'm like, right on, sister.
She's hot.
Also, I have a huge enamorment for the version of Moby's South Side that she does the guest vocals on. That song just puts me in such a good mood all the time, which came out right around 99 or 2000.
And we got some supermodels on here.
Is that Kathy Ireland?
Kathy Ireland.
Okay.
Yep. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. I think she was the absolute hottest supermodel of the time.
You think so?
There was a lot of them back then. There was like Elle Macpherson and Cindy Crawford and a few of them, but she is by far the best, I think.
Tyra Banks.
Yep. RuPaul.
Right on.
Did quite a bit of modeling back in the day. All right. Kathy Ireland. You know who this chick is?
Is it the bass player? It's not the bass player for White Zombie.
No.
Bass player for A Perfect Circle?
No.
Lords of Acid. I give up.
Hole.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Melissa
Oftermar?
yeah.
Okay.
So
So I was half right because played bass for A Perfect Circle later.
She had that beautiful red hair that was so fucking, I don't know. Like, I'm a sucker for red hair for whatever reason. And so I thought she was by far one of the hottest chicks on the planet back then. So I was definitely in love with her. Back to redheads. Dana
Gillian
Scully.
Anderson.
Well, Dana Scully. Gillian Anderson. What a dumb fucking name. So the X-Files girl. Hot as fuck. And finish off with the greatest redhead of them all, Tori Amos.
Tori Amos.
She is absolutely stunning. Everything that she does is stunning. Even now that she is getting into her, how old is she? She's like 50 something. She's got to be just about 60 now.
Right.
But
getting there.
Even getting into like her grandma phase, she looks fucking good. I would definitely, I'd definitely cheat for a chance at her.
She looks like a retired high school English teacher now.
Yeah, she's got those like hot glasses that she wears all the time. And oh, baby, tell me how much you hate Trump. Fuck yeah.
You bet your life I do.
All right. So anyway, those are my hottest. But I didn't forget you. I pulled out some hot ones for you.
Hello, nurse.
So, girl number one in Andy's hottest, we got the nurse.
Son of a bitch.
From, what was she on?
This was a good swerve. I didn't see this coming, you dirty birdie.
What show was she on?
Animaniacs.
Animaniacs. I knew you would know. All right. Let's move along. Recognize this hottie?
Very funny. However, Annie Potts, who that was based off.
Yeah. Yeah, she was pretty hot.
Yeah, man. Wifey.
But she wasn't a cartoon.
Crap.
That kind of detracted from her beauty a little bit.
I have totally posted Annie Potts on Facebook as my Woman Crush Wednesday. Yeah.
But now you have cartoon Janine. So.
Janine. Yeah.
That was her name.
Right on.
All right.
Oh, my goodness. Hello.
April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles. Remember her? Remember those boobies?
I was going to say, I don't remember her like that, but yeah.
Well, but you could tell that she had a good set of boobies underneath that yellow jumpsuit that she wore all the time. You could see it. I mean, thank God for the digital artists that have graced the internet since then to show us what she's been hiding all this time.
You're trying to tell our listeners that this is one of my crushes from the 90s. Yeah. Sure. Anyways.
She might be more mine. She was a redhead, so whatever. I might take that one. And then
what up, girl? Okay. You got me there.
From Futurama.
I just over the course of the last 6 months, I watched every single episode of Futurama that exists, including all 4 movies, in chronological order.
What episode was this from?
I don't remember, but there were a few times when I'm just like, her eye is up there. Like I needed to keep reminding myself to keep looking up.
Yeah. She wasn't shy. She wasn't bashful. All right. Remember this hot mama? From,
Goof Troop?
Goof Troop.
Yeah.
Yep. So remember
but actually, no, I don't remember her.
The car dealer, what was his name? Like Slippery Pete or something
Pete.
in the show. Petey. Okay. That was his wife.
Okay.
And yeah, she's got.
The only reason, like, I guessed who she was.
Were they dogs?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Which is weird because in the Disney Kingdom, you have like Goofy, but then you also have Pluto. And it's like, how come one of them's a dog and the other one's a guy who talks, but he's a dog? A very plot hole, inconsistency. But what I was going to say was I could just tell.
Clever writing.
I could just tell by the style of animation, like, oh yeah, that's from Goof Troop.
Yeah, this is some Disney afternoon shit.
Okay.
All right. What do we got next? Oh, who's this hottie?
You managed to find one.
I spent a lot of time on DeviantArt looking for this shit. Do you want me to send you this one?
You managed to find one.
Do you need to spend some time alone?
I mean, these are all questions that can be addressed at some point. Is that it?
I got a couple more.
Okay.
Remember this one?
That's Gadget.
Uh-huh.
That is Gadget, not how I remember Gadget from second grade. But I mean,
well, this is grown-up Gadget. You know, you were talking about Madonna, how you wish she was growing up.
she's expressing herself.
Yeah.
She's being very Madonna right now, for sure.
How about that tail? Those ears, you could nibble on those.
She's been using an animated thigh master. There's no doubt. Look at that.
Yeah, she looks good. That's. Remember this one?
I should, but I don't. What?
From Animaniacs.
From Animaniacs.
Her name was Minerva.
Oh, yeah,
Minerva
yeah.
Mink.
Yup, absolutely. Minerva Mink or Minx?
Maybe it was Minx. But she's a mink, right? Isn't she
But they might have kind of stylized it a little. Yeah, vaguely familiar. That's my answer. Vaguely familiar.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how does she rate as like cartoon hotties to you? What would you give her?
Non-applicable, man.
She wearing too many clothes?
It might be the tail, seeing as how I'm not a furry. No matter.
Yeah, the tail. That tail. Well, imagine what she could do with that tail, though. All right. Okay, one more. Oh. Remember this one?
I do. Rebecca Cunningham. I will never, ever forget that hairdo.
Good job. Yeah. Yeah.
I used to be a big fan of
And now
Tailspin.
you're never going to forget this outfit.
I was a big fan of Tailspin, but I always thought the way they chose to do her hair always looked weird.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I locked in on. I'm like, oh, the hair, Rebecca Cunningham.
Yeah, I always thought she had really bad hair. But yeah, she's a good-looking mom.
And she was an entrepreneur, for what that's worth.
I mean,
she was a good role model in the 90s. She was a strong woman trying to make it on her own with her kid, Kit.
With her bastard child. Yeah, I'd definitely pet her. She's nice and furry.
I'd give her a petting. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
My 90s actual crushes on ladies. I mean, Stephanie Tanner from Full House to some degree, but then when her friend Gia came along in the last couple seasons, I'm like, oh, Gia's my thing. Move over, Stephanie. It's Gia time now.
Poor Stephanie.
I thought Dana from Step by Step was attractive, but at the same time, I'm like, I had this mental block where I always prevented myself from developing full-blown crushes on a female if I knew she was older than me.
What? Those were the only girls I developed crushes on.
I had that mental block until until 97 when I discovered Jewel. And I'm like, I don't care about mental blocks. Jewel, I'm in love with her and I want her to be my wife forever and ever. I was hopelessly romantically in love with Jewel.
All of my crushes were definitely way older than me.
Yeah. I couldn't do it.
Denise Richards, I don't know how old she would have been, because I would have been... when Dark City came out, gosh, I would have been probably 15 or 16.
Okay.
And she looks like she was in her early 20s. So she might have been the youngest one on that list. Or the one closest to my age. And she was still like 5 years older. Like the first time I saw Jennifer Connelly, well, obviously she was way older than I was. Right. But yeah.
Yeah, I was weird like that. I had an issue where I'm like, it could never be because I'm younger and that makes me inferior, you know.
Granny
that kind of
Tori Amos. Being what, like 15 years older than me?
But
don't care.
However, that was the 90s and I've managed to kind of work past that a little bit.
Well, that's good.
For what that's worth.
Who would you say the hottest cartoon character was that we just looked at? Was it Rebecca Cunningham?
No, probably Leela.
Leela?
Well, what was the very first one you showed?
The nurse.
And then
the
second.
Animaniacs.
And then the second one. There was one early on that I thought was. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's why. So Leela, but also. Leela, but also Annie Potts in real life. So
really, not this one. All right. Anyway, that's closing out Women's History Month with the hottest ladies that I thought were the hottest ladies.
Right on.
All right.
There you go. That was a whole month of you giving props to the ladies. How do you feel?
There was a lot of really good ladies in that month.
Heidi Fleiss.
A lot of them were steeped in scandal and craziness, but that's what makes them interesting. Yeah, they gave us something. Like all of those women, like Amy Fisher gave us something.
For sure. Amy Fisher gave Joey Buttafuoco something.
Yeah, she gave
few
him
times.
a lot more.
Yeah.
And she gave his bitch wife something too.
These are facts. Absolutely. Right. Do we want to check the chat? See what's up?
All right. Oh, Rosalind's in there. She's bitching about Tori, I bet. Yeah, she probably got in there just as I was talking about how.
Nothing but wholesome recollections of the 90s going on here, Rosalind.
Yep. Pat says, I don't remember Creepers, though. Oh, he doesn't remember that movie. Well, I mean, it was a forgettable movie. Probably the only reason I would even remember that movie is because my buddy had a copy of it, and we would get high and watch it probably once a month for quite a while.
Oh, wow.
So she's burned into my brain.
Paulina Porizkova
was the hottest 90s supermodel. Who the fuck is she? I'm going to have to look her up after this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I can't think of who she is.
For science, for research. Yeah. Absolutely.
For science, Rosalind. I have to know.
That's for science, Rosalind. That's what the hell.
All right.
My last topic is just, I want to get in the habit of whenever it's my last topic for the month, I'll recap stuff and try to go over it, tie things back to mindfulness, tie everything up in a neat little package. I've got less than 15 minutes to do it, but you know what? It is what it is. I'm not going to worry about it too much.
Well, you're just going to blast through them, probably.
Yeah. Right? Well, yeah. I'll do what I can. I'll say what I can. We'll see where the conversation goes. In the last month to month and a half, I've covered my three favorite 90s comedians, George Carlin, Dennis Leary, and Chris Rock. I covered Tiny Toons over the course of 4 topics. And covered Madonna. And of course, we covered the Wiener Band tournament for the entire last month. I really liked the Wiener Band tournament a lot because of the engagement with people, hearing what people had to say, just the fact that they chimed in and that they were kind of stoked about it, and they had lots of animated opinions, and I really liked that. And
it's definitely they're definitely propelling us into another one,
right?
Because we have to now. Because there were too many really good ideas that came out of it.
Exactly. The first one was good, but it was maybe just a prelude of things to come. Like we can do that again, but even better. I like the energy. I liked I loved, when Adam was like Aerosmith. I'm like, really? You think so? And within minutes, I'm like, no, you're right. I went from not even considering them to being like, they might be my number one pick right now.
Yeah.
Like because of just how wienery they were.
Yeah, they were my top
in the 90s, particularly. Here's the thing. I really and I realized this when I was in the shower a couple days ago. I really think maybe the biggest reason I liked the Wiener Band tournament is because it was a payoff. I just started thinking about the term payoff, and I'm like, yeah, we were working towards a payoff. And I'm like, well, maybe this concept of payoffs, maybe the reason why it felt so good when it struck me as something to think about and talk about is because that might be a good way to try to tie together a lot of these topics we've been talking about, where I feel like I'm kind of piecing things together, but I get this distinct feeling I'm not making my points as succinctly as I want to. And, you're kind of sitting there like kind of understanding what I'm saying, but you're like, yeah, but what are you really getting at here? And a lot of what I'm getting at,
you have to have a point to just like something.
I want to tie things to mindfulness, though. I mean, it's in the title of the show. Like when I gets to the end of my topic and I'm like, I don't really know how to bring everything full circle into one satisfying little bow. Like a lot of times what I want to say is when I was a kid in the 90s, I was an oblivious kid who was just kind of pawing around in the dark looking for mentorship, which I mentioned in previous episodes. But I was also looking for payoffs. I was looking for anything that just made me feel like life was worth it instead of just being crappy. Like this is
rainy days.
What's that?
Like rainy days or bad weather.
Yeah, sure. Maybe. Rainy days aren't my issue, by the way, when I talk about bad weather and barometric pressure.
You just didn't have enough of this going on in your life. That's what it really all comes down to. Not enough sexy dabs.
Damn it! I'm gonna stop laughing to quit encouraging you to show me that.
The next one I bring in is gonna be naked.
God dang it! Payoffs. It's a big deal. Like, I spent so much time in the '90s wondering, like, when am to quote Ben Affleck in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, fuck Lord, when's gonna be my time? Like, I just kind of felt like that all the time. I might have mentioned, I think I mentioned in a previous episode, I had that writing assignment in creative writing class in high school where you pick one emotion, you write the emotion and then the word is, and then an example of what that emotion is. And I picked aggravation, and the teacher told us you only have to list like 5. And she gave us a few minutes and I listed like 30. Like, I filled up one side of the page and started writing on the other side of the page because I just had so many ready examples in my mind of aggravation. And I tie that directly to just living a life.
Was one of them being in school, being in class?
You know what? I should bring that in, and I'll probably bring it in for a bonus episode once we finally start doing those. Start bringing in pages of stuff that we actually wrote when we were in the 90s. I found it. I found that while going through my boxes of stuff in the last couple of weeks. I found the very same page.
Hold on to that shit. That is crazy.
I just threw it into a filing cabinet, and then it eventually got moved around and out of the file cabinet and into a box, and then just I found it again. And now
I have nothing from that era. If I didn't have the one thing that my stepmom gave me, I would have nothing.
I don't know, man. You can call it pitiful if you want. I'm not saying this to you directly, but you or whoever else it might be might say, man, how do you still hang on to that stuff? You probably consider it kind of like inability to let go. Like, I'm into it. I don't know. For some reason, I like going backwards, and I like once again, I'll reference that Woodrow Wilson quote. I like remembering where I came from because it helps me make sense of where I'm at now, which helps me make sense of where I think I'm going next. So I love hanging on to old stuff. It sucks when people like you have to help me move. I apologize for that. That really sucks. We're filling an entire U-Haul full of stuff that I really don't need to hang on to. But
yeah, just carrying that shit around all the time from place to place would just be annoying.
I just think it's neat.
I don't think it's neat enough to hold on to. I would definitely have tossed that shit like a long time ago.
I'm getting to a point where I'm like, yeah, anything that's paper or anything that's a picture in a photo album, I really should just digitize it as soon as I humanly possibly can. And it will no longer be...
Stick it on a drive or something.
Yeah, exactly. Stick it on a drive and it will no longer be weight. And it won't break my back when I'm moving. So I was going to try to tie the idea of payoffs into a lot of these topics I've been talking about, because that's what these topics are from the 90s, and that's what I cared about in the 90s was mentorship and payoffs, both for the purposes of mindfulness. I felt like finding good mentors would make me more mindful and make me a better person, and like occasionally getting payoffs would alleviate the aggravation and make, bringing it back to that and making life feel like it's not so crappy after all. And I just didn't get payoffs very often. Okay, I felt like in the 90s... Who
did as a kid? Nobody did as a kid.
Exactly. In the 90s, I feel like I felt like I was dealt an unfair hand in life to where I didn't get nearly as many payoffs as I should. And in hindsight, I'm like, well, was that just me being a bitch?
Yeah,
or
it was.
Is there...
there's so much worse that...
100% though, being a bitch?
Yeah.
Dude, we grew up in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yes, there was a lot of shittiness about it, but like you weren't getting raped or anything like that. I mean, think about the people that grow up in circumstances that are just so beyond what you can even comprehend.
There's a fallacy for that.
What is that?
It's called like the worse than fallacy, or like it's a fallacy where it's like if you always say, well, it could be worse, it could be this.
No.
You're downplaying.
I'm responding to your comment that you were dealt a particularly bad hand. I'm saying you were not dealt a particularly bad hand by comparison.
By comparison to those things, yeah. But I mean, even relative to the people around me in my city or even in my county, I felt like my hand was in the lower 50 percentile at least.
In Amherst, everybody lived rurally. That was not even, so did I. I mean, if I wanted to go to town, I had to bike. You were closer to town than I was. And I had to bike there to do anything cool, like with my friends in town. I had to bike 8 miles.
Mom wouldn't let me cross Highway 10. And it's weird because at a certain point, maybe it's more subjective than objective, or maybe it's more me than anything because have I mentioned in this episode that I'm a sensitive boy? I'm not sure if I've mentioned that yet. Like, it's just my upbringing was so not conducive to the kind of person I actually was. Just completely antithetical. Everything felt like an uphill battle.
Yeah, but that's just being a kid, though. Like, I feel like everybody does that. Everybody deals with that dumb shit.
I don't know, man.
I think I can make a case that I had it worse than you do. Like, way worse than you did.
I don't know. There was a lot of emotional terrorism.
Wow. Okay.
I wasn't going to mention this, but now I am going to mention this. I was going through my Hotmail about a week ago now I'm mentioning something I didn't want to mention just because I want to try to prove you wrong and try to plead my case a little bit better.
I know.
Bitch. And I found
good for the podcast.
I found an email from my mom. It wasn't from the 90s because it was in the era of people sending each other email all the time. So had to have been somewhere around maybe 2010, maybe as early as 2005, somewhere in there. My mom emailed me to let me know that she had stumbled across either my MySpace or my Facebook. And back in those days, you would list like your occupation. Mm-hmm. And as a complete joke, because I thought I was funny, I put toaster repair / private dancer. I'm like, that's fucking funny. My mom sent me an email like fucking reading me my rights, being like, private dancer, huh? What does that mean? And then in a different sentence, in a different line, she said, and don't even think about saying it was just a joke. Yeah. Just coming across that email about a week ago reminded me my mom emotionally terrorized the living fucking shit out of me from the entire time I was growing up. And I got to a point where I just kind of normalized it.
Yeah.
Imagine somebody being serious when saying that, and don't you dare say it was a joke. She was that much of a mortified homophobe and just terrified of the idea of me being perverted in any kind of way that it made her lose her fucking mind anytime she got any kind of small inkling that I was anything other than a straight white male American good boy.
So what did you respond with?
I don't know. It crossed my mind to
Did you not play that up and was just like, hey, Mom, this is what I do now. I dance for other men. If you don't like that, you're a fucking adult at this point. You don't need to listen to anything this dumb bitch is saying anymore. Like, what was your response, though?
I don't think I responded, actually. I probably just gave her
You should have just put her in her place.
I probably gave her the silent treatment for 6 months until it blew over.
You were definitely raised by your mom, because that is a chick move. Like, silent treatment. No, put that fucking bitch in her place. Let her have it. Send her a picture of you naked with your buddy wearing a thong bent over in front of you or something.
Wearing the Borat swimsuit, yeah. Hindsight's 20/20, man. Maybe I should have done that, but there are layers to this stuff, man.
I mean, she's just going to do that shit over and over. See, the thing that you learn as a kid that I think is important to learn, and like we learned this certainly, was that there's going to be consequences for literally everything you do. And the moment that you realize that it's all just stupid bullshit, when I was a kid, I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of my house. I could not wait. My dad was fucking really dumb religious nut who was always like he found my Marilyn Manson CD and fucking went ballistic. Like, that's the kind of shit that I dealt with. Yeah. But you know what? Like, never did it ever dawn on me that I thought it was like I thought the way he acted was unfair, but I never had this thought that like I was dealt a bad hand in life. I'm just like, well, I'll be out of this fucking house in a few years. Like, I always took the long view on everything.
I spent all of the 90s just counting the days on the calendar until I could be free. Absolutely.
I had my boxes packed so that the day I graduated, I literally packed my car and drove away. And I didn't see my dad again for probably 2 years after that because I was so sick of his dumb bullshit.
I swore into the Navy 2 or 3 weeks after I turned 18 just to ensure that I could get geographical distance from my mom.
Yeah, so that's all normal shit. Everybody does that. That's just part of growing up. You just fucking, like I said, I had my shit packed. I was gone literally the second graduation ended, and I knew I was no longer legally obligated to be anywhere in that house. I was out, and I was just done.
Yeah.
Just part of growing up.
Shit, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. I was going to bring what we're talking about right now.
Here, I got something for you.
Uh-huh. You do got something for me. I should have just said, when I replied to my mom's email, I should have sent her that and been like, this is what I'm into, Mom.
No, you should have sent a picture of yourself jerking off to this. Don't just send the picture. Go all out. I mean, she was such a bitch. Just let her have it. Like, there is no way that I would have just ignored that email. There's no way. But I like fighting too, though.
Yeah.
And that's probably part of my upbringing. Because all my brothers and I did growing up was fight. All my dad wanted to do was fucking fight all the time with every little thing. It was really obnoxious.
Oh, that's what I wanted to bring this full circle to was we talked about conditioning when we were talking about Elmira a couple of weeks ago. The differences between humans and animals is conditioning based on instincts versus conditioning based on habits versus reason versus all that stuff. People get conditioned in different ways, man. It is what it is. I was conditioned by my mom and my grandma from a very early age that I had to be a good boy because there was literally no other alternative that wasn't fire and pain and brimstone and crying and dead puppies.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess that's what I mean
but you're also at the same time saying that you realized it was bullshit very early on too.
I did.
And you had a lot of resentment towards them for that.
And then what escaping from it was there? When you're in the middle of nowhere in Amherst and you're stuck in a house full of people who no one's going to support you.
Yeah, I would just stay. I would just stay away from those people.
Once I hit 18, I kind of started the process of doing that, but
you didn't move out immediately when you were 18?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've actually technically been away from my mom and on my own since I was 17. At age 17 and a half, it was staying with various friends until I signed up for the Navy. The Navy recruiter helped get me in at the turn of the century. Ooh, for those who don't know, it's a weird apartment building in my county where it's more lodging than an apartment.
Yeah, it's where people like meth addicts and stuff hang out.
And guys who just get out of jail and aren't on their feet quite yet. From September of 99 and forward, I didn't live at home with my mom anymore. Like I said, when I was still 17.
Was this all in the late 90s?
Yeah.
Bring it in as a topic. Don't talk about it right now. We're already over 9 o'clock.
I was going to say, we are past 9 o'clock. Man.
But you obviously have a lot to say. Bring it in as a topic.
I do have a lot to say.
Bring in, what would that be that? Oh, I don't know. Like moving out of my bitch mom's house in the 90s or whatever the topic would be.
The only other points I was really going to make was I liked Plucky and Hampton's dynamic better than like Buster and Babs or whoever because they were more of an odd couple and they were a couple of misfits working at their payoff together. You know what I mean? All their wacky exploits. It was two buddies working toward the payoff together.
I wanted to talk about too. Fuck.
Yeah, what was it?
It was that topic. It was fucking Tiny Toon shit. But whatever. I'll try to remember to bring it up next week.
Oh, Cassie says it is crochet and not knit. My bad. For the record, it is. Cassie says it is crocheted and not knit. That was my bad.
Very good crochet job.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I think knitting is more common, so the fact that it's crocheting makes it actually a little bit more special.
Well, you still should have not wore a shirt. That would have been fucking hilarious.
Or worn it under the shirt. One of the two.
No. You got to see the thing. You got to see the bra.
For one night only, he's a boob burglar. You see what I did there? I wanted to talk about and then I was going to talk about that Madonna song, I'll Remember, but I already talked about that. I originally had it in my Madonna topic, and then I'm like, I'll move that towards the end. But then I accidentally talked about it during my Madonna topic, so I've already covered it. That's kind of what I had. I was just going to talk about Tiny Toons and talk about how a lot of the stuff that they did on Tiny Toons was about payoffs, and I was going to try to tie all of this into a neat little bow. But at any rate,
I didn't summarize mine.
The reason I'm so big on this phrase payoffs is because I'm more of a meaningful person. I mentioned this in a previous episode. Aristotle says happiness is a two-sided coin. One side of the coin is joy from living in the moment. The other side is meaningful pursuits.
Yeah, what a heck.
I'm a more meaningful pursuits guy by like every metric. I do care about joy and comfort sometimes, but it's...
Well, when you say meaningful pursuits, that's very subjective.
True.
Everybody just
but it's about your mentality and your drive and like your mode that you stay in. Do I care about feeling good now, or do I feel about working towards something that'll make me feel good later? I always pick the latter, like every time, to a fault.
Yeah, so. And now that I'm thinking about it, I said I don't know what my meaningful pursuits in life are, but I actually have a lot of them.
And one of them is showing me Babs Bunny over and over again.
Don't tell me it's not doing something for you. What's going on here? All right. Can I end this thing?
Yeah, I think it's...
No,
wait. We, during this episode, Diley called in again. Can you believe that? That son of a bitch had the audacity to call in again after what he did. Let's see what he has to say.
Fire me from call-ins? Fine. I don't need this. I don't need anything. Except maybe this booby poster. That's all I need. Nothing but this booby poster.
Good for him.
And maybe Sharon Stone's puss.
Oh, yes.
But that's all I need.
That is all you need.
Booby poster and the puss, that's it. Well, maybe this copy of Metroid 2 Return of Samus. But that's all I need. I don't need any more from this place. Oh, but I need this. This Jose Canseco doll? That's all. The puss, the booby poster, Metroid 2 Return of Samus.
He's referencing the movie The Jerk.
Jose Canseco doll. Oh, and this Creed CD. But that's all I need.
How can you jerk off to Creed?
I used to think it was funny when Diley would reference the movie The Jerk, but no. I'm done with him. After what he said about Beavis and Butthead, I'm done. You're gone. Sayonara.
I like
nice
what
knowing
he said
you.
about
nice knowing you, Diley.
And Sharon Stone's puss and
Metroid
Samus.
2.
Yep. So,
but that's all. That's all he needs. Apparently,
he's coming back. I'm going to bring him back to talk about booby posters.
You would.
Hey, Diley, talk about this a little bit. All right, let's go out on some sexy bunny. Hell yeah. Look at that gorgeous bunny.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for participating in Wiener Madness. Thanks for everything. Let us know if you think U2 really should have been the rightful winner of the whole shebang, the whole Wiener Madness.
Also, like the video, subscribe, and
hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Friendster, Spotify.
Yeah, come to Twitter. Twitter's fucking boring. There's nobody there yet. So
Corey's Twitter water dish is empty. Please fill it.
Yes, I need more Twitter people. I'm not on Facebook. All right, I'm out of here.
Peace.
Later.